In the heart of a fog-enshrouded forest, hidden by a century of overgrowth, stood the old witch's cabin, its darkened timbers groaning under the weight of its cursed history. I'd always been fascinated by the supernatural, the whispers of the past that seemed too shadowed and twisted to be mere folklore. My name is Ella, and my thirst for the unknown had driven me to the edge of reason, and now, to the doorstep of this forsaken cabin. Tom, my ever-skeptical friend, was beside me, his brows furrowed in the dimming light of dusk. "Ella, are we sure about this?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper, as if afraid to disturb the slumbering spirits we were about to awaken. I clutched the old book I'd found in the dusty shelves of our university's library, a tome filled with arcane rituals and tales of the witches who supposedly lived here long ago. This could be a breakthrough for my thesis on modern superstitions, I argued with a mixture of excitement and an unshakable chill crawling up my spine. The cabin looked exactly as the legends described, desolate, decrepit, with an air of ominous silence around it. We stepped inside, the floorboards creaking under our weight, and the stale air of abandonment enveloped us. Symbols, strange and sinister, were scrawled across the walls, and relics of old witchcraft lay scattered on the surfaces, covered in cobwebs and dust. Against Tom's advice, I opened my book to a marked page, the ritual meant to summon the spirits of the witches. My hands trembled as I recited the ancient words, the candlelight flickering as if dancing to the rhythm of my incantation. As I spoke the final verse, a cold wind swept through the cabin, extinguishing our candles and plunging us into darkness. "Did you hear that?" Tom hissed, his voice tense with fear. From the shadows, whispers emerged, soft and menacing, and the temperature dropped so suddenly that our breaths turned to mist. Figures, shadowy and elusive, flitted in the corners of our eyes, too quick to be seen, too terrifying to be imagined. It was then she appeared. Mrs. Thorne, the enigmatic old woman known as the last descendant of the original witch. Her eyes, dark and knowing, seemed to pierce through the gloom. "You fools," she murmured, her voice a blend of anger and pity. "You have awakened what should have never been disturbed." We tried to explain, to ask for her help, but the cabin began to change around us. Doors vanished, replaced by walls of rough ancient timber. Windows appeared where none had been, showing views not of the forest outside, but of impenetrable darkness. The cabin had become a labyrinth, a trap. Mrs. Thorne explained that the spirits were tormented, their unrest fueled by our intrusion. "The ritual was incomplete," she revealed, her voice echoing strangely in the morphing halls. "There is a component, a secret one, missing from your book. Without it, the spirits will never find peace." Tom and I raced through the shifting passages of the cabin, the air thick with the hiss of angry whispers and the chill of unseen presences brushing past us. Finding the missing component, a small, heart-shaped locket that belonged to the original witch, was our only chance. Driven by desperation and the chilling touch of spectral forces attempting to thwart our efforts, Tom and I scoured the ever-changing rooms of the cabin. The locket, according to Mrs. Thorne, was hidden in a secret chamber, a place where the witch herself had once conducted her most powerful spells. The cabin seemed alive, its walls pulsing with a dark energy as if breathing with the restless spirits that haunted its spaces. As we entered what appeared to be the heart of the old structure, a room unlike any other in the cabin, it was clear we had found the chamber. Herbs hung from the rafters, dried and withered with age, and the air was thick with the scent of moss and decay. The locket lay on a pedestal, glowing faintly in the dim light that filtered through the cracks in the wood. Grabbing the locket, I felt a surge of energy, a whisper of ancient power that seemed to pulse through my veins. With Tom at my heels, we raced back to the main room of the cabin, the echoes of our footsteps chased by the eerie laughter and wails of the spirits. They knew what we were attempting, and their fury became almost tangible, manifesting as gusts of wind and deeper shadows that seemed to claw at our very souls. Back at the ritual site, I placed the locket at the center of the arcane symbols we had found scattered throughout the book. Reciting the rest of the incantation, I felt the cabin shake, the ground beneath us quivering as if the very earth was rebelling against what we were doing. Tom and I held on to each other, our eyes locked on the flickering shadows, watching as the spectral figures converged on the room, their forms becoming more defined, more menacing. Just as it seemed the spirits would overtake us, the room filled with a blinding light. The locket burst open, releasing a torrent of energy that swept through the cabin. The air was filled with the sounds of the spirits' wails, turning from anger to relief, their forms dissolving into the light, finally finding the peace they had been denied for centuries. As the light died down, the cabin itself seemed to sigh, its ancient timbers creaking louder than ever before. Mrs. Thorne appeared once more, her expression softening. "You have done what many believed impossible," she said quietly. "But remember, some things are better left undisturbed." With her help, we navigated the now collapsing cabin, the walls disintegrating around us as if the building's very essence was tied to the spirits it had housed. Stepping out into the cool night air, we watched as the old witch's cabin crumbled, leaving nothing but a pile of rubble and the echoes of its haunted past. Back in the safety of daylight, Tom and I could hardly believe what had transpired. I knew then what the focus of my thesis would be. Not just on the legends themselves, but on the profound truth that sometimes the line between myth and reality is much thinner than we dare to imagine. As we walked away, my book under my arm, a sudden gust of wind flipped its pages to a section I had never noticed. A warning inscribed in the margins: "Beware the spirits return, for their rest is as fragile as the peace they seek."